A pin is a tactical maneuver in which one of your opponent's pieces is prevented from moving because it would expose a more valuable piece behind it to an attack. The most common and effective pins are against the king or queen. For example, imagine a position where it's white's turn to move. White can move their light-squared bishop to b5. Now let's look at black's move. Black cannot move the knight on c6. If the knight were to move, the king behind it would be exposed to a check, which is illegal. In chess, a fundamental rule is that you cannot make a move that puts your king in check. Therefore, in the position we discussed, the knight on c6 is completely immobilized, as moving it would expose the king to an attack. This situation is called a pin, where the light-squared bishop has the knight pinned. In a similar scenario, imagine black moves their light-squared bishop to g4. Now white should not move the knight on f3. If they do, their queen, which is behind the knight, will be attacked by the bishop. This is another example of a pin. A pin is when a piece is forced to stay in its place, because moving it would expose a more valuable piece behind it. When comparing two types of pins, absolute pin. This is a pin where the pinned piece absolutely cannot move because doing so would expose the king to a check. For example, a black piece is pinned, and it cannot move away from the file or diagonal because the white piece behind it is the king. Relative pin. This is a pin where the pinned piece can move, but doing so would result in a loss for the player. For example, a white knight is pinned, and it can move, but moving it would expose a valuable white rook behind it, leading to a significant loss for white. This is another example of a relative pin. In this case, if the knight is moved, the rook behind it can be captured by the bishop. Besides absolute pins and relative pins, two more types of pins are also observed. For example, a partial pin. In these situations, the pinned piece can move within a specific area and can also capture the pinning piece. In a situational pin, the pinned piece can be moved in any direction, but it results in a loss for the player. For example, in this case, white loses a rook in exchange for their bishop, which is a net loss of 2 points. Now we will learn about the ways to escape a pin. 1. Move the pinned piece, the more valuable one. For example, castling changes the king's position, which frees a pinned knight. 2. Attack or capture the pinning piece. For instance, you can attack the pinning bishop with a pawn. If the bishop retreats, you can attack it again with the pawn, forcing it to move away from that diagonal.